Greetings comrades, my name is Gigantles, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys, both on Facebook and YouTube, an update about my SSPX related content. Firstly, I know I'm recording this in the old style where I basically sit on my bed and record something, because unfortunately my computer is in the middle of a silent update, and whenever I try to run OBS when that happens, the video is prone to freezing, so I end up being stuck in a single position the entire video and the audio just continues on. I really hate when that happens, and it may be 24 hours before I can record anything on OBS. So I'm going to be recording something like this, so you guys can know what to expect from my content about the SSPX. So on Facebook, where I've done most of my content about the SSPX, I think it's either been me refuting a claim that Pope Benedict XVI said that Lefebvre was one of the most important archbishops of the 20th century. It's a load of rubbish, and I think it was apparently meant to be a quote he had said in private to two priests, even though neither of those priests have been named or came forward to verify this claim, so we can dismiss it as fake, especially given how much of a slap in the face Lefebvre gave Pope Benedict XVI back when he was Cardinal Ratzinger. A metaphorical slap, of course, but how much of a slap in the face he gave him when they were trying to negotiate whether or not Lefebvre could ordain his successor bishops. So, I mean, the other main content that I've done was the 6-part series explaining how we know the SSPX are in schism, and in that 6-part series, each of the 6 posts had 4 ways we knew that the SSPX were in schism, and these mainly looked at things like papal documents and theological analysis. So when I first published that, I got a lot of hate mail from the radtrads and SSPX apologists, but that just inspired me to continue doing it. And by the end of those 6 posts, I said that I would continue the series if I found any more reasons or ways we knew that the SSPX were in schism. When I first started that series, it was inspired by a page called Catechesis Memes, who they made content. They made content about a lot of stuff, one of which is the SSPX. And whenever they make a post about the SSPX, in the comments they have a specific comment that they basically copy and paste, and in it has stuff like, are the SSPX in schism? Yes, and then provides a link to this. Did Pope Benedict XVI lift the excommunications? Does that mean they're not in schism anymore? And then he says he did lift the excommunications, but they are still in schism, and then provides a link to the document. And he does this for I think like 4 or 5 different pieces of information, including relying on Pope St. John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis. And when I saw that, I was inspired to make my own version of it, but a bit more comprehensive. And so I compiled all of these references in depth, and I was going to put them in a single post on Facebook. But then I thought, okay, what if there's more reasons? And after I did some more research, I found out that there were a lot more reasons and ways we knew the SSPX were in schism. So I then turned that into a 6-part series with 24 reasons. And then several months later, I believe, or maybe even a year later, I did a video about it, which was over an hour long. Put that up on YouTube, and shared the link on Facebook. The reason why I'm making this update video is because at the end of that video and at the end of that that Facebook series, I said if I found any more evidence, I would try to make another series or further posts and stuff out of it. And I'm here to tell you that I have found a lot, and I mean a lot more evidence. I'm just debating on how to continue the series. On Facebook, I might take on Facebook. I already had new reasons, or like I already had new points that I could have made posts about, but I wanted to see if I could get another 24, and then I could make another 6 posts. And so even like a couple of months after I finished the series, I already had maybe 4 or 5 more points. But within the last couple months, the number of points that I've had has just skyrocketed in number. as I started doing more comprehensive research on not just on what like recent popes have said and recent theologians, but I also started looking at some of the original documents and interviews and stuff like that had been written or said by Lefebvre himself and Pope Saint Paul the Sixth. And I think if you want to know just how many there are, you can if you go onto the website True or False Pope, which covers a lot of the areas about sedevacantism and the SSPX. They have a timeline of documents from I think 1970 up to 98, in which they basically it's documents by Lefebvre, people who've spoken with Lefebvre and Pope Saint Paul VI. And if you read those, you can see very clear language that demonstrates that the SSPX are in schism, or at least they had a schismatic mindset, even long before they performed the illicit consecration of the bishops. So I think at this point I actually have 82 reasons or ways that we know the SSPX are in schism. And so at some point I'm going to be basically doing another phase of this series that I did on Facebook, in which I'll give 24 reasons, and then I'll probably take a break and then do another 24 reasons, which will get me up to 72 reasons. And I'm trying to stagger this out a bit, because if any of you know me, you will know that I like to be comprehensive in my research and try to compile not just substantial evidence, but as much evidence, if not all the evidence that I can get. If you don't believe me, look at my references to the Deuterocanonical books in the New Testament series. I made sure that I could find every single one of those references by scouring the internet. And I think at this moment there are 332 references that I found, and you haven't seen it yet, but I've already edited a video where I have every one of those references listed. It's a very long video, the longest I've made so far, but it goes to show just how detailed my research is for that. As for the Successor series, which is my references to the Deuterocanonicals in the writings of the Church Fathers, there are hundreds of references in those easily, and I think it's probably close to 1,000. I can't think of a specific number, but it's probably close to 1,000. And so I don't know how long that video is going to be, but it's going to be very long when I do a final compilation video for it. But that goes to show that I want to get all the evidence I can to build not just a robust case, but basically an impenetrable case. So with the SSPX, I want to have all the evidence that I can get, proving that they are in schism. And so this means that I'm going to be looking through a lot of documents. And the website True or False Pope has done a brilliant job of compiling several dozen of these documents for me to basically look at and read through. I think even before I found another 24 reasons, people were asking me when I'm going to continue the series, and I said I'll either wait until a year after this video that I released, so then I'll know that there's no more evidence, or I'll wait until I have another 24 reasons. But as it currently stands, I'm definitely going to have over 100 reasons or ways that we know the SSPX are in schism, and so I'll try to stagger everything out as best as I can so I can continue producing things in sets of 24 until I have thoroughly scoured the internet, and when I start becoming unable to find more evidence, then I'll release whatever I have by then, even if it's less than 24. And once I finish that, even though by that point I may have several dozen posts about this, I want to provide, I guess, just a better compilation of reasons. Because unfortunately, when I first started this series, it was a bit all over the place, and so my references come from they're not very well grouped, and they're not chronological at all. So what I want to do is once I get all of these reasons down, I want to order them by date and by category. So all of the theological reasons why they are in schism, I'll have those all down and grouped together, and then I'll have like a timeline of documents. So These are all the documents of Pope St. Paul VI, that proves they're in schism. Here's the one reference by Blessed Pope John Paul I that says they're in schism, and he actually does say that. He actually says that I know he didn't have a very long papacy, but he wrote a document in which he referred to Lefebvre, and he said that the SSPX, if the church were a tunic, then the SSPX is a rip in that tunic, which is language basically confirming that they are schismatic. I want to have that reference down like right after Pope St. Paul VI, and then I'll have the documents from Pope St. John Paul II that says they're schismatic, then all the ones from Pope Benedict XVI, and finally Pope Francis, at least for now, because I don't know when Pope Leo XIV will make a comment about the SSPX. I hope it's soon, but then I'll have a proper timeline of these documents and references. I keep saying references, sorry. And all of these reasons and ways that we know the SSPX are in schism. After that, if not intermittently throughout, depending on how I organize this, I want to also have all of the SSPX documents where they basically confirm their schismatic nature, whether it be by their admission in theology, or whether they try to say stuff like, to quote Lefebvre, Rome is in apostasy, or whenever they accuse the Pope of being a heretic, and that's schismatic language right there. So I want to do a proper compilation by the end of this, but the only way I can get to the end of this is if I have all of these reasons located, detailed, and written down and detailed. And this is where I'm sort of asking you guys for help with this, because there's a lot of SSPX videos and websites and documents out there, and I don't have the time to read all of them. I can find the stuff that people give me links to. I can read those and analyze them and stuff like that, but I can't read everything out there by myself. So if you guys watching this video have seen a video about the SSPX, have read an SSPX document, have read a document by maybe just cardinals talking about the SSPX, or have just maybe even overheard a conversation by SSPX clergymen that helps prove they're in schism, please let me know. And when you let me know, you need to do it in a very specific format so I can prove it's credible. So you need to give me the quote, the relevant quote, preferably word for word, the link to whatever source you're using, and then also a brief explanation of how it's relevant if it isn't immediately clear. So maybe maybe a few years down the line, I'll definitely have over 100 reasons, but I may have even over 200 reasons by that point, if I'm being optimistic here, as just ways to prove that the SSPX are in schism. So then when I compile this and I then release it, for everyone else to see, the SSPX will have no way of arguing that they aren't in schism with so much evidence pointing to them being in schism. Sorry. So that's basically what I want to do with the SSPX. In the course of the next few years, I want to do a lot of research, going into extensive detail about people talking about them and all the theology behind them being in schism, and all the references from cardinals and popes and so on, and maybe even saints too, because I know, aside from just the popes who have been canonized already, Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen did refer to the SSPX being in schism before they were formally excommunicated, I believe. So just if you have if you have any evidence that helps prove they're in schism, please let me know so I can investigate it and then add it onto my master list. And then over the next few years, I'll just be releasing these groups of 6 posts at a time, providing 24 new ways that we know the SSPX are in schism. And I admit, I'm not looking forward to this, but I may have, when I finally get all these reasons together, and I'll do a big compilation video, I may just end up sitting in front of a computer and just talking for hours, going in depth about all this, and my throat is going to kill me by the end of it. But it'll be worth it, so that we can finally get over all this confusion that the SSPX has been putting out there in theology, to to try and justify itself as not being schismatic, when the evidence by then will show that they very clearly are in schism. I don't know how many times I waffled on more than I needed to or went around in circles, but that's pretty much what my plan is for my content regarding the SSPX, both on Facebook and YouTube, for the next few years. Not sure how long it will be. That will depend on how much you guys help me with my research and finding all these references to the SSPX being in schism. So just whether you comment that on Facebook or YouTube, I don't mind, but please help me get as much evidence as possible for this. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have a great day. God bless you all. See you in the next video, comrades. Until then.